Welcome, affiliated listeners, to another episode of the Affiliated Podcast. And today we are going to be talking to ecom brands. Not an actual ecom brand, but I want to talk to those people out there. And when I say ecom, you have a branded storefront, you have a lot of products. We're going to tell you how you could take the products you have, convert way better than you are currently, and go from this really 15 to 20 point touch point kind of process down to something that's 1 to 2 to get a conversion. And in fact, that conversion might be even worth more money than what you have right now. And we're going to have a special guest to help us with this conversation today, Lauren Lee, one of our favorites, our specialist in the ecom world. She takes all this direct response weirdness and brings it down into a much more normal place. You're like the cool kid for all us nerdy kids.
Wow.
That's what you are, Lauren. Like, we are into Dungeons and Dragons, and you are definitely whatever the cool kids were doing. I don't know. I wasn't part of that group.
I wasn't either.
Probably drugs and sex. That's what I assume. But, whatever it was, it's cool. So we're happy to have a cool kid at the table today. How are you doing?
I'm really good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It is sunny. I don't know if you noticed. I'm already trying to get as tan as humanly possible. But anytime the weather is out and it's good and warm, I'm a happier, better person.
I feel
which
you.
probably means I need to move, but at least in the winter.
Right.
But no, it's great. And I'm really excited for the conversation today. As I said, we're talking about a lot of brands, companies you deal with. And I think some of this big transition of like direct response, sales pages, like, well, what does all that mean? So today you get to be one of those confused brands that have a great brand, a great product, suites of products.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the person trying to explain why this direct response, a conversation you've had too many times, of why this direct response world could be really, really valuable, regardless of you use affiliates at all. In fact, we say affiliates, guys, and just so you know, for those that don't know, affiliates are people that are going to sell your product for you for some sort of commission, whether it's a percentage of the sale or a CPA. We might not even need to talk about them a lot today because I think what we're going to talk about is beneficial for any brand trying to sell products online. So if you're one of those brands, this might be for you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, we'll get started then. What I'd like to do is, why don't you just frame up kind of the type of business that you're going to be today and what your challenge is, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Okay, I'm a beauty brand.
A beauty brand. Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
I'm a beauty brand, and I'm selling some sort of moisturizing cream, maybe with some consumable products as well, like beauty from the inside out.
Ooh,
yeah.
Beauty from
Okay.
the inside out. Nice
Right?
moisturizer. And what's special about this cream? Does it have like little pieces of diamonds in it?
Yes.
So I get a extra shine.
Yes,
right?
you're very shiny,
very
luminous.
good. Beautiful. That sounds so great. And only for $2,000 for half an ounce. That sounds awesome.
Right.
Okay, so you have a beauty brand. How are you selling right now? What's the main way, your main channels?
Yeah,
that you're
so I
successful with?
sell direct to consumer. So I have a Shopify store, and that's my primary channel. I also have other distributions. So I sell in like some specialty retail stores, and I'm trying to get into Target. I've got my stuff listed on Amazon. That's what we're working on right now.
Nice. So you're looking at big retail. You have small retail. Probably maybe using some PPC or keywords to get some traffic, but most of it's pretty organic, I'm imagining, right? Do you guys have any socials that you use?
Definitely. We have social media, and we use, we have organic traffic, and we have paid traffic coming to our site. We have paid ads that we're running on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
And I imagine a big thing too, when you're going to major retail, one of the most important things you want right now before you get over there is leverage, right? If you have good, strong online sales, you're going to get a much better deal and maybe not have to pay for restocking fees or, pay for positioning. Like, you get a much better terms, which not only increases your likelihood of success, but hopefully decreases your likelihood of losing a lot of money going into retail. Because I'm sure you've seen that story or heard of that story many times before.
We're looking for more reach, right? We're looking to reach additional customers. We're looking for net new channels. We're looking for acquisition strategies. Currently, Facebook is really expensive. Our paid media traffic is challenging to always control.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to investigate other avenues, other opportunities, but primarily most of the traffic comes directly to our e-commerce store when it is digital. And then obviously we have brick and mortar relationships. But
Well, we don't care about the brick and mortar. Throw it out the window.
Get out of here.
About that today. But I think one of the big things we're going to talk about, and I mentioned in the lead, is the idea of that funnel, that first interaction with somebody through paid media, whether it's through affiliates, but just that first interaction.
What is a funnel?
Yeah, well, we'll get into the funnel in a second.
Okay,
but first, because I'll use a metaphor, and then we'll come back to this
I love
funnel
metaphor.
and what a funnel is. So I think oftentimes the way you're probably selling And I see most brands, and especially direct-to-consumer brands, the way you're selling is you're hoping to be kind of a part of a conversation, right? Okay. So you normally have about 15 to 20 touch points before you get a conversion. And oftentimes it's like, well, some people are they're talking about wanting shinier skin over here. So I'm going to create some content about shiny skin and why diamonds are beneficial, and maybe they'll read it, and then we'll retarget them some more, and eventually they'll find their way over here. Or I'll have a conversation over here. But I'm waiting for the buyer to basically say, I need this product. I wish it existed, and then we just appear magically, right? That's kind of the 15 to 20 strategy. I know there's a lot more to it. I'm simplifying it down, but in general, that's what we want to do. We want to be a part of a conversation that's happening. That is challenging, right? It takes a lot of touch points. Yeah. It's a lot of content. It's slow moving sometimes to know what's effective. And the margins are very, very slim. So all of a sudden at Facebook, the CPMs get really expensive. Your campaigns probably won't work, or definitely have to start dialing back, right? So we want to talk about today is, what if we switch from this being a part of a conversation already happening to starting a conversation and finishing it, so we could go to 15 to 20 touch points down to 1 to 2 to get conversion. How would that sound?
Sounds amazing.
Awesome.
Tell me more.
That's what we're talking about with a funnel. A way to think about this visually is your brand is set up like, we'll say Costco. Most people know what Costco is. When you go into Costco, you're going to wander all the aisles and buy way too much toilet paper.
Try all the samples.
Yeah, try all the samples, buy some big quantity of something you've never tried before and thought, but why would I not, right? But there's also people in there selling specific things. They might be selling a Ninja blender. They might be selling a cell phone. They're selling something very specific you probably didn't even come in for and didn't necessarily care about. The only qualification is that you were a member of Costco that was shopping for groceries. That's all we really know about you. So a funnel is that guy pitching you the Ninja blender. They're displaying, they're capturing your attention, they're showing something, they might give you a smoothie, they have a mic, they're yelling something like, but you're tired of chopping all those vegetables. You're like, I am tired of that. So I will sit and listen. That's what a funnel does. It takes your attention based on some pain, aspiration, whatever it might be, and it identifies, connects on some sort of problem or desire. Just a problem or desire you have. Okay. That's all you know. I don't know about the brand. I don't know about anything. I just know I'm tired of chopping vegetables. And from there, you drive them down into, guess what? If you never want to chop vegetables again, you just need a Ninja blender. And with a simple click, get all this and so much more. And they end up buying that, walking them to register, being like, I can't believe I spent $1,000 at Costco when all I wanted was a couple of water bottles, right? So that's how that happens. That's the difference between a funnel versus what you're doing with your brand. The brand in the e-com store is all of Costco. The funnel is the Ninja blender that got that sale today. Does that make sense?
It does.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
I will tell you that reference does come from Alex Moore. He was an old VP of sales, but it worked really, really well. So I think one of the biggest things is, how do you change that? How do you go from a storefront, a homepage, to an individual product page? And there's some very specific elements to
product page or a funnel?
A funnel. Sorry, a funnel. Yeah. Which, let's break that down. A funnel is really a sequence of product pages, is a way to think about it. Okay. They're going to be a little bit different than you think of product pages, but just to get us down there. So when we say product page, this is like, I click on a product, it opens up, and we have the add to cart button and some more details about that product.
And it's on my e-commerce store.
On your e-commerce store. That's kind of what we're thinking of a product page. So that's close to a funnel. Okay. A funnel is the idea of taking that product page, adjusting it, and we're going to talk about it to where the customer's first interaction is that product page that's going to highlight something that they want and explain why your product is the fit for it. And when they buy, the next thing they're going to see in the sequence of the funnel is another product page. They don't go wandering around your store. You do not let them peruse. You dictate their experience. It's a sequence, right? So you could go a certain number. We'll save today. We'll probably do about 2 to 3 upsells. Meaning that after they purchase, I'm going to try and sell them 3 more things that they have the option to buy. And then through that, we create an overall funnel that's used specifically for acquisition. So we'll talk about some of the goals that you want from that funnel, but to here, I just want to say in general, does it make sense, the idea of these sequenced product pages? They'll be modified, but sequenced product pages that create an overall funnel for a very curated experience for a brand new buyer.
Making sense. My one question is this sequence happening on my existing e-commerce URL, like my diamondmiraclecream.com, or is this outside of that ecosystem? Is this funnel not live there?
It depends. I would tell you the funnel would not be something that a consumer would land on your e-commerce page.
Okay.
And they would find themselves to. They should never see these pages unless you showed them to them, right?
Okay.
So the way to think about this is really going from ad to funnel. And then from there, they should never see the funnel again. Right?
Okay.
They'll never see it again. It's just once I've bought it, acquired it, sweet, I'm done. And now you just have your e-commerce store, which will be the home base for all your future activity.
Okay. And would you recommend that a brand like me or a brand that's listening would, like, do I differentiate, right? Like my URLs or the experience? Like, does it have to look and feel like my brand does on my e-commerce store?
I would tell you it's not a bad idea to start there when you're building because you want it to seem somewhat cohesive. And that's going to help your LTV or lifetime value, right? If I entered in this one way and it's totally different than everything that's in the back end, I might get to that, storefront and be like, what happened here? This is not my experience from here. So you want them to be somewhat similar. But I would tell you on the domain, is it the same URL? Maybe, maybe not. It really depends on what you're doing. That could change. So you might be wanting, a good way to think of a funnel is oftentimes you might have a really good direct-to-consumer brand amongst the consumers you know. But all of a sudden you're like, man, I feel like we need new consumers, but I don't know how to get them.
Yeah.
That might be really challenging in the kind of ecosphere you built to go out to a new place. But a funnel could represent an entirely different conversation to an entirely different audience that isn't issue aware or anything. So maybe we're doing all this shimmering stuff because you found a specialization for this category of women. But you found that this product also is very valuable to men that do drag. And you're like, wow, how am I going to broach? Like, I can't maybe use the same circle of these 50-year-old, say, conservative women that like crystals and diamonds on their face to now middle-aged men doing drag. That might be a hard leap. But I could create a custom funnel that potentially attracts to just that group, and it might have a different domain because I don't want to get them going to my store yet. It's too far away. So maybe I make it look a little bit less similar on the front end and then slowly bring them into your brand. And that way you could access completely new verticals, completely new niches, and it's going to feel different. A good way to personify the strategy would be GoPro. So GoPro did a lot of things for a lot of different people. And their advertising all had like a homepage, but they would create product-specific funnels and product-specific pages that were based on the activities that people wanted to do. So if I was doing a bunch of underwater like surfing or I wanted to do deep sea diving, there's certain features and things about the GoPro that I cared about that somebody that's snowboarding doesn't give a crap about. Or someone that's doing like skateboarding videos doesn't give a crap about. But both those consumers need the product. So you can start creating a separate funnel just for those folks that has a certain type of advertising, highlights a certain type of thing, a certain type of pain point, and even a certain type of product that might be different from this audience over here. But all funnels back to GoPro, right? So that's the way I think about these funnels. It really depends on your goals, but they act as, think about it this way, a funnel is like a spear, right? This is our spear to go into new waters and catch new fish, or even the same fish in a different way. And so it's more of a spear to be precise and go after that person. Right? And what you're probably doing on your ecom store is more of casting a net. Anyone that's familiar already kind of knows what they're going on. We're just going to swoop them in and bring them on in.
Perfect.
So, sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that's not a direct answer, but yes. So let's start talking about some of the differences with these funnels or what you want to do.
Yes.
One of the big things that's really important is how do you select the first product? What is the first product we should choose? And a lot of people might overthink this step. There's really three things you should ask yourself. The first one is, what is my highest margin product? Why would I ask that question if I'm trying to create a funnel? Why do you think?
I would assume it has something to do with being able to monetize traffic that's going to that page. So if I have high margin products, I could probably incentivize maybe affiliates or other partnerships to also drive traffic and reward them.
I would even say we're going to remove the affiliate side to it. The reason on a funnel it's so important to have your highest margin products in the lead point is it allows you to spend more to go out and get those customers. It's supercharging your spear with more ability to say throw more often, throw with more speed, whatever it might be. When you have that wiggle room of margin, especially knowing you're having a different conversation, potentially to a new market and new consumers, having extra space to spend just makes it more effective. You could find more people. You could increase the area you want to go. You might find that your conversions could be a little bit lower, so it affords you more time to spend more to get one of those customers. So starting off in a high margin place just provides you flexibility. We don't even have to enter into the affiliate world first. It's just flexibility in acquisition, getting that new customer. So that's one of the first things. Get something that's going to be high margin. If you have like 12 or 20% margin, that is great for customers you've already acquired, because it just becomes too expensive to buy them and get them in, right? And too much risk. So that's the first one. The second one is your most unique product. Why would I care about something being unique? Why would that be something you want as your lead or your funnel?
I mean, it's what's going to draw people in, right?
Yeah. So why do they care, right? There you probably, in your store, you might have hundreds of cosmetic products, maybe even 20, it doesn't matter. There's probably only one that's really uniquely different and will get attention. Again, we said before, we're not looking for issue-aware people. We just need to get their attention. We need to pull them in. We need to be chopping those things with the Ninja blender so they go, ooh, and pay attention to us, right? So unique is always just going to help, big time for that. And then I'd say the last thing is, do you have a lot of it, right? Do you just have a lot of it so you can move it through and make sure that if this becomes the spear of your business, you're not going to be held by inventory issues and stuff like that. So if those three things are met, you're probably in a good place to start adopting this product page and start building a funnel. Okay. And we'll get to the upsell second. We're going to start with the lead one first. Sound good?
Yeah.
So we have the product. Let's make one up just so we can talk about something. So what's a product that in your diamond face cream? The diamond face cream is probably going to be the lead,
it's
right?
number one.
Yeah,
right.
number one. So that's giving us our glossy shine, our diamond face cream. Unique. We get really cheap diamonds because they're obviously blood diamonds. So your margins are really high. And we know we have a unique position, and they're really cheap diamonds, so you have no problem with
they're lab made.
Yeah. Lab made, so you can just turn them out, no problems, right? So you have no problems with inventory.
Right.
Perfect product.
Okay.
So one of the things we need to start doing is adopting this for a product page. The biggest thing that's going to change, we said before, let me define this further. The difference between problem aware and solution aware could be defined by as much as, if you're doing direct to consumer, they're most likely solution aware. So I'm comparing solutions, meaning that I know that, say, I'm really struggling with acne scars. You know, I wasn't good when I was younger. I didn't take care of my face. I take care of picking at it. And now it kind of looks like I just have permanent cellulite face, right? And I found that diamond creams do a really good job smoothing that out. But I don't know what the best one is, or I don't know what the best type of vanishing cream would be. I'm making up terms that I've heard and read before. I don't know if they're right. So that's somebody that's very solution aware. They know that's going to be the solution, but they don't even know the problem. They've kind of solved it out. So they're going to compare brands that way. That's normally D2C. What we want to switch to are the people that all they know is, I don't like my face. That's about as far as they've gotten. They're like, oh, my face really sucks, right? And I just hate life with this face that I don't like. That's as far as they've gone. Okay. So now we switch from maybe a product that's going to say, oh, it does these great things, blah, 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 to it's now not even necessarily product focused. It's, I'm connecting with your problem. And I'm going to bring you in on where that problem is. Or it could be an aspiration. It doesn't have to be a problem. It could be something you want to do. So maybe you guys had the podcast with Kidpreneur, right? It might be a aspirational, like, do you want, it can focus on, would you like your child to have independent financial freedom, knowing that he's not going to get through the education system, or we're going to go, that's already going to a problem. Like, you want your child to be like financially independent and not fall victim to making money for other people so they lose their family, blah, 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 all this stuff. You sell the misery of what, entrepreneurship could solve. Well, I'm aspiring for that, so I might be interested in consuming whatever information would come in.
Okay.
If we do problem aware, we just need to connect with the problem right off the bat and tease that there's a solution. Okay. But we got to stroke that pain. So if it was, for let's say, someone that are struggling with acne scars, like, it could be something as simple as like, you start off with more like, I wouldn't say like, sorry, marketing here as we just spitball, but we could just connect with the problem as much as acne scars, like you used to watch his acne scars float away easily in a matter of 30 seconds. So you could go out and finally, like, shame-free show off your selfies, or take selfies filter-free with this new cream, smoothing out skin and destroying acne scars, right? Because ideally, I'm like, I would like to be able to take a selfie without having to use a filter. That's the problem I'm identifying with. Okay. And now you're providing a solution. I'm like, well, I'm curious. Because all I know is I have to put a filter on all my selfies. That's where you're changing in terms of what happens at the top of your page. We want to create a headline that it's a little bit paradoxical. but you're going to do something that connects with the pain and teases a solution. You're not even going to say what the solution is, just that the results are really, really great. And that's how we start shifting our pages, right? So we go from there, we're going to stroke a problem, and then we're going to try and connect with a story. You might do this through a video. You might do this through long-form copy. We're already shifting our pages now. We're going to say, here's the problem. Now let me tell you about all the amazing results first. That's normally what you do. Like, Ted's having this, and here's this here, and these people are seeing all their skin so much better. And it doesn't matter, from teenagers to people who are lifelong sufferers. Look at all the amazing benefits. And the great thing is they don't have to have they're not having to go to their dermatologist. They're not having to do painful injections. They're not having to put Botox into their skin, right? Instead, they're just wiping diamonds on there. By the way, none of this might be compliant. I'm just making stuff up, guys. So please don't take these claims and think you can make all of them. But in general, you're going to be talking about that and say, now, how did we get here? How did this happen? What is going on? Now you go into explaining that, right? So you're going to explain what was going on, what the origin stories of your product is. You haven't even said what it is yet, right? Here's the great benefits. Here's the problem that was going on in my life. Here's why I wasn't able to solve it, why you're not able to solve it, why you're not alone. Super important stuff. If you ever look at just why people rally around things, we want to feel that somebody understands our issue. We also want to have an identified enemy to our issue so we could collectively throw stones at that enemy together. So that's what you're doing here. We had the problem. Here's a solution. Be real excited. I'm just like you. And you know what? It's these people's fault that was the problem. That's what's happening. And especially during political times, guys, pay attention to the way politicians talk, because they all do this. This is a standard process. Whether they're going to say immigration's such a big problem. I want to know it's a problem because of this and this. Here's the things that we need to have. We should be doing this and this as a country. And let me step back and tell you about why it's such a problem. I remember back in Reagan would do his Reagan letters. I received a letter from Sally, and she's saying this and this and this happened. Blah, blah, blah. And that's because this people, they'd want it to happen, right? But don't worry. Come and connect with me. You guys have all heard this some way before. That's literally what you're doing on your pages. It's very similar, right? So you're going to identify some problem, why they weren't solving it. Say, yes, this is what you want. Here's the solution. Now we could do it together. And now you present the actual product, and now you have your diamond cream. And we just did all this stuff from I just don't like my acne scars to this is the best solution that's going to solve it. I haven't looked anywhere else. And now you're just going and pitching to a close. And then you're going to have some sort of options to buy a product, whatever it might be. Again, that changes on your product. And then you're probably just overcoming objections, frequently asked questions, guarantees, and then you're going to offer another sale again. So very basic format, right? But that's essentially where you're going from a product page. There's probably going to have a CTA right at the top. It's going to say the product, and then it'll have some benefits down below, maybe even before, and then it'll have more scroll down and see. We're not going to do that. You're going to make them force go down to find out what they need, and you're going to lead in a little bit different of a way. Questions? I know that was a lot that you covered there.
No, that's great information. And it makes me wonder, as a brand, am I creating this content? Am I testing this content? Like, do I hire a writer? Do I leverage AI? How do I create the content? Because, yes, you're amazing at that, right? Like, you're just kind of coming up with it off your head. But like for me and maybe my team, we don't necessarily have those skill sets or that experience. What would you recommend?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things, it depends on how fast and what you want in terms of those solutions, right? Like, listen, this style of selling stuff has existed since the 1920s. So there's a lot of resources to learn about these strategies. From modern takes to you could go back and read the Bourne letters, you could do breakthrough advertising. It's all the same concepts that are going to matter. This is just a very specific form of it. So you could go off and learn it. We have courses on ClickBank. There's tons of stuff online. If you wanted to be a writer and learn this yourself, and maybe where your brand's at, that's the best that you could do. That's fine. I would just tell you, give yourself patience. Your first attempt's probably going to be really, really bad. So if you're doing this, if you have an email list internally, test it out there. Launch a new product this way. Say, hey, I'm going to try this, maybe a new product. Let's see how it does.
Yeah.
Some people will either tell you hate it, maybe they won't. Split test it against just a normal product page, see which one does better.
Okay.
And wait until that product, this more direct funnel style page, outperforms what you do on a product page when you send it. Split test it, see, work. And then eventually, like, okay, I'm getting better. You're going to see the effects and how that changes, and then roll that out into paid media. But you could internally first.
Yeah.
If you wanted a faster route, I would strongly encourage you to just hire a copywriter, but that could be challenging. They're not necessarily cheap. How do you find the right one? What happens if they produce something and it doesn't perform? One thing I would tell you, if you're hiring a copywriter, if they're doing something you've never seen before and you don't understand, focus a lot on, these are the numbers that I need to do to succeed. Like, we are going to run this against our current campaign. You're going to create a page that should convert higher than what we're doing right here, right? Make it very clear. And then when you're communicating with that copywriter, make sure they understand if this doesn't work, this is our standard success. If it doesn't work, what are you going to do to make sure that it does? Gotcha. That's the biggest, I would tell you, if you ever get burned with the copywriter, it's because you don't negotiate what happens when it doesn't work. Because every really good copywriter knows it's very rare your first attempt works. Okay. It normally takes many iterations and optimizations. So make sure, if you're hiring somebody, just make sure that they understand that piece.
Got it.
But a copywriter is going to know how to do that same process very well. They could do it very early on, and that's going to really accelerate your performance quickly.
Would you recommend that you're building these funnels and like, do you test different versions? Like, how do you do that? How do you manage that? Like what?
We'll get there. So one last thing I was to say on the AI, I would really strongly encourage you not to use AI.
Okay.
But at first, and the reason being is if you don't know what you're doing, AI is essentially a collection of the mean of what's happening, meaning you'll most likely get subpar writing and you won't even know it. You won't know why it's not working. You won't know if it is working. There's not enough for you to know to have AI be valuable for you. Once you know what you're doing and you have a good experience, AI is awesome. It could accelerate and get kind of the bulk of it done and then you smooth afterwards. But to sit there and think without knowledge that you're going to start from there, it would be very, very risky. Unless you're buying like a software. But again, that still gets really risky if you don't know what good and bad looks like. So I would say get a baseline and then look to those tools. Now, going back to split testing, lots of different ways. In fact, you could split test before you even get started. Or I'd say you could test or get information before you ever get started. Okay. So one thing is you need to get a unique position or pain point for your product.
Yep.
Have you ever walked to a brand that doesn't actually really know the main pain points of their consumers?
Have I talked to a
brand?
brand?
Yeah, you talk to a brand that you'll talk to them, they actually don't really, they think they know, but they really don't actually know the main pain point of their consumers.
I think they know the pain points that they're trying to solve, and I think it's often inspired by why they started the business.
Yes.
But then I think over time, that might change or more if the customer is kind of coming to them for different reasons. But I don't know if they know like the heart of why somebody said, okay, this is the solution to my problem.
Exactly. And so I say that because oftentimes these brands are the limiting factor in their traffic is they're only operating off what they think they know exactly from what you said, because it's what their problem was. But your problem is not everyone's problem or the way they communicate with it. Yeah. So one of the first things I would do when you're building, maybe you have the product, you're not sure what angle to go off of, write some angles, some headlines, and I always frame it and then put it and survey it out to your email list, to your socials, and whatever areas you talk to your consumers. You want to do it in all different ones because very few of your consumers will actually absorb your content in every way that you create it. Right. They're only going to pick one.
Right.
So, and this is actually cool because you can actually make money off this. But what you do is you create just a survey and say, hey, we're trying to come up with some new content. Which article would you be the most interested in? Which thing would drive you the most? And you put various pain points on there. And then you leave last one is like, what's the one thing we're not talking about you'd like to hear from us? And so you put those options in there. And one of the things that's nice about it, you say which one you read. Have them read, and then you put, as an option, you put a coupon code after the survey. You don't tell them, but a coupon code after the survey. Say, hey, we're going to give you 10% off on the store. They'll go and buy money. So then now you get information, and it actually will make some money for you. Yeah. So you monetize it, which is really nice. But through that, you're gonna see already with your current audience, what are the issues that they seem to care the most about with, and even want more information. Your product might be solving that issue, but they care enough about it, they want to know more. So that's really effective. Yeah. The other thing, at least, that I'd recommend everybody do is maybe talk to some of these consumers, do a survey, and start saying, hey, what made you come in today? Like, what actually had you buy the product? Read your testimonials, see what they're saying, start deriving some of those pain points from there, really know that. And the last thing that you should do before you even start writing the funnel, you picked a couple of options. Physically go out. Find an area, it might be a GNC, it might be wherever, where you think your consumers live, and talk to at least 5 to 10 people and see if they'll buy your product based on that position. Say, try and sell it to them face to face with this problem set. And if you can't get at least half of them to buy, it's probably not a good idea. It's not a good angle. You need to try a new one. Yeah. And someone's like, hey, I'll buy you coffee if you just talk to me. I just want to see if you'd be interested in this, right? Give them something in return. But it is so valuable to be face-to-face and watch the way the target demographic interacts. I know it's a small data set from what we see online, but it's such a valuable data set, you don't need as many of them.
Yeah, it's like real and tangible.
Yeah, if you do those things, you should have a really good idea of what your angles are going to be and where your marketing pain points need to be. Don't assume. Go and do that process.
Right. And so let's say, all right, I muster up the courage and I do this in-person thing, and then I've tested with like some unengaged audiences, and I'm like learning along the way. I'm learning this funnel, and I've come to see that maybe I've created 1 or 2 funnels that are actually working and performative for me. Do I scale this, or do I just use this for like my internal traffic? Like, what would be the next stage of this funnel?
Yeah, I would say ideally, once you think, wow, this is converting more than my product pages, awesome. You should shift that to acquisition traffic. So cold traffic, whatever, if it's a paid medium, it's hard to say because it's going to vary depending on what acquisition strategies you have. I mean, you might be doing direct mail, turn it into a letter and a direct mail source if you can. Whatever your main source of acquisition is, start split testing it against your main campaigns and see what works. Now, you might be building a funnel for a totally different market, right? So that might be harder. Your best bet there is to try and find some benchmarks and just make sure your ROAS is good. And if your ROAS, you're getting good return, just keep dialing up your spend until you don't, right?
Yeah.
And then optimize from there. But I would say if you know it works, start scaling it. Now, the other thing too is if it is working and you're seeing it working for cold, even if it's working for internal better than it was before, that is a good time too. If you want to bring affiliates in, if you want other people to sell it, this is a really good time to maybe enter in and have them start doing it.
Okay.
Because it's just going to convert so much better and be more dedicated that it'll be a much easier scenario for affiliates. Again, people that are going to be selling this for a commission. So that would be a good time to enter into that. But I think the idea, if it's internal, don't let it die inside, right? This is meant to be an acquisition spear. If your funnel's only for internal stuff, you're probably missing out on a ton of opportunity.
Right.
So you want to get this to your cold buyers,
Okay.
people that don't even know who you are, and start using that as your spear.
Awesome.
Especially for your company, because you want to do retail. So you want to pump that thing in a new acquisition. So you could go to Target and Walmart and be like, we don't really need you guys. Look how well we could acquire without you. In fact, you need us to legitimize your brands because we're already making a big impact.
Right.
So I know you said we need to pay you on restocking, but I think you should change the terms you're talking about.
Wow, that's
now.
powerful.
Right? Yeah. So that's the ultimate goal. That's why you'd be doing this.
Okay, cool. Let's see, what else?
Well, so we have the front end. Yeah. Any other front end questions there? Like, because then we go to the upsells next.
Front end means what?
Front end is the first sale. So initial sale. This is the first interaction with you is what we call the front end. Yep. On the funnel, the front end, that's your tip of the spear. But there is more that happens after that, right?
Okay.
After they buy. So before that, do we have any other questions? And we could talk about the rest of it.
Did we talk about how to like host this stuff? Like, am I doing it on Shopify pages?
And again, you could potentially, that just really depends on what fits for your stack. You could totally do private Shopify pages and run a funnel through Shopify, not an issue. The big thing is you don't want it to live on your ecom store. So however you want to host it works for you.
Okay.
I will say that if you're using affiliates, sometimes it is safe to use a new domain for your funnels.
Okay.
Or if you're going into maybe a less secure traffic channel, it's not bad to use a different domain.
Okay.
And that just protects. So we say if you're using affiliates, you're going to do everything you can to protect affiliates from doing bad things. But we do everything we can to protect ourselves, and people still do bad things. If somebody, say, got your domain listed on a spam website because they were doing something very bad they weren't supposed to, you could shut them down, but now your whole domain's listed on a spam website. That could shut down a lot for you. All your emails just don't get delivered that day. That would suck, right? It might change the deliverability in general with major emailers. So I think if you're getting into that realm, a separate domain's just a good insurance policy, a smart thing to do.
Okay, cool.
But again, that's not necessarily that everyone would need that based on their situation.
Yeah, good insight.
So are we ready for upsells?
Ready.
Okay, so after they purchased, one of the things that's important with the funnel is if they're buying one product, unless your product's really expensive with one, if your product's really expensive, they're probably not going to buy in one interaction. So that's one thing we didn't say. The lower price point tends to be a lot easier for a funnel.
What's lower to you?
I would say you want to be under at least $300, $297 for a front end product.
Okay.
for a funnel most of the time.
Okay.
I would say I would love to have a price point under $100, but it really, again, this depends on products. This could vary.
Yeah.
I have clients that have run things at scale at, $2,000 price points, but that's such a different funnel. We're getting too far away for me to explain it on here.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I would say you want something under $297
Okay.
for your front end price point. But let's say if you have like a $50 product or a $20 product, you are not going to make, even if you have a 90% margin, that's not enough to not lose money on acquisitions. You need more money from that consumer, which is where we come up with upsells that are going to happen right after the purchase.
Okay.
And the great thing about it is in a funnel, it's one-click upsells is the norm, meaning I've got my card out once. I will not have to get it again for my preceding purchase. I'll just click a button, it'll charge that card, and I'll have whatever I wanted.
Okay.
So when you're doing upsells on the funnel, they're critical because this is actually where you could fund your spend, right? The initial product is just hopefully if you can make that break even, awesome. But most of the time you're going to lose money on that for your spend. So this back end really is just about funding your ability to spend as much money on this funnel as possible. The goal is self-liquidating, meaning that I spend as much money as this funnel makes. And I could keep doing that for a really long amount of time.
Okay.
Because that means what I'm getting is customers that cost me effectively nothing, free customers. So if I told you at the beginning of this podcast, I said, we're going to talk about how to get free customers, people would probably be freaking out. They think it's the greatest thing ever. But that's essentially the goal with a scaled funnel is you're getting free customers. Sometimes you even make money on that brand new customer. Oh, what an amazing thing. But the goal is to get them free. So you need those upsells to really lever what you could spend. So there's some things that you need to know when you're coming up with upsells. There's a lot of generalized strategies. The first thing is your first upsell is the most important one. It's going to see the most things. In general, you should expect between 30 to 40% of those people, of your buyers, to take and say yes to that upsell. That's where a healthy place is going to be. There's some general strategies that you need to know that always work. People have tested these. They try to test against it. They just always work. And one of the biggest things is if you're selling a physical product and you could sell multiples of that product, that's important. If you can't sell multiples of it, this next thing will not work. But if you can sell multiples of it, like your beauty care product, if I was doing a skin cream, the first thing that I would sell next is my first upsell would just be more of that exact same thing. People are like, why? That's stupid. Who would ever do that, right? Well, one, you just spend a lot of time getting them bought into that one thing. Just say, are you sure you don't want just more of it at a discount? It's just right there, right? It's right there. It's super simple, and it tends to outconvert anything. I could tell you, I've tried lots of different things besides more of the same. But if you have a product that's consumable, that you could buy multiple quantities, even if it's not consumable, it could just be a gadget, right? We saw it with, people buying commemorative coins. The number one best upsell for commemorative coins, more of the same commemorative coin, right? So it's more of the same as the first thing that you should test if your product fits that way. Not all of them do, but it's very, very good. So the next thing you do is it should next be to accelerate or do it for you. So if you have a product that's going to accelerate the results of what you just sold, that should be your next upsell. Because now it's, hey, you just liked all this. You said yes because you wanted this. What if you could get it faster? People love compression of time. It's one of the biggest things we spend a lot of money on. If you look at how many products compress time and how much money we spend to compress time, it's massive. So compress that time, make that a lead. That's really, really big. And I say done for you that if maybe you can't compress time, you just give them things for you. So if you're informational, educational, if it's a diet program, instead of like, oh yeah, here's the recipes and things like that, the done for you would be, we're actually going to ship you your meals now. So here's the diet program so you can understand, but here, if you just spend it, you won't have to do any meal prep, and we'll just send you what you need to eat. Wouldn't that be cool? That's a beautiful upsell. Who wouldn't say yes to that? I just said yes to this great program. Now you're just going to bring me the food? Take my money, right? So that's those are accelerating the results or done for you. Should be the next upsell if it's not more of the same. After that, you're going to want to normally go into correlating products. What's the next issue you might have? So that's kind of those are going to be less likely because maybe they don't have that issue, but that'd be, again, if you're going to, let's do your skincare, right? So the next thing is, and this is going to be different for certain products, because I would actually say for skincare, it gets a little bit different because you might do more of the same and you probably won't have accelerants, but now you need the full thing. Hey, we're only doing this, but now you need your night cream. What about your puffiness or all these things? making stuff up. So now it might be, we give you one snippet. Now here's the full program. Here's the rest of it. Here's your nightly deal, right? So that's where complimentary comes in. It's kind of the rest of the thing. And then I would say for skincare, actually, what I would do next would just be more of that, right? Now it'd be like, great, now you have your full skincare program. What about getting it for the next 3 months? Okay. And then you say, because the last thing you'd ever want is to, be without your skincare, right? Anyway, so that's kind of the process for that. I know that went a little off topic, but you're going to want to correlate next. What's the next problem they might have? And you could probably do 2 of those, maybe 1, depending where you're at, trying to do about 3 upsells. But if you're constructing your products that way, you should get a lot more people taking something of it, boosting the average order value, the amount people spend when they buy a product. And now if they spend more, then you could spend more to go acquire more customers. And that's how we kind of create this funnel that could self-liquidate and acquire a lot of people.
Oh my
That was a lot, right?
Yes. No, but I feel so informed. I feel like, okay, I can do this. This is digestible enough where I can start to build some funnels. Upsells would be something that I hadn't explored yet, and I really want to see if I can leverage that strategy.
Yeah.
And I think it's great.
Yeah, and so it's one of the things. I know we talked about it conceptually. There's other episodes that go more in depth with certain parts.
That's
and there's
what I was
more
going to
people
ask you.
out there. Yeah, we've had some where we talk about just upsells, or I know there's some copy episodes and content we have out there that goes even more in depth. I think I did one time that just goes on headlines. Okay. So there's a lot to know in there. But I'd tell you is like, if you understand the concept, okay, that sounds interesting. It's just the entry point to start consuming more.
Yeah.
Learn more, educate yourself on more. I would definitely buy the Boring Letters, Breakthrough Advertising, How to Save a Cat. Perry Belcher recommends that one. It's fantastic. It's actually on screenplay writing, but it's really, really good for writing copy. Anyway, just start consuming more, learn more, and I think then you'll be ready to make a decision after that. As we are not direct responsing this isn't a funnel. You're going to need some more time, and again, you're probably going to fail the first time you do it. Just accept failure. If you don't, awesome, but you should be prepared to fail right off the get-go.
Awesome.
So now, one other thing I'm going to say, just as a bonus, would you think that people would like a bonus?
They want an upsell.
Yeah, they want an upsell. So we're going to give you an upsell here, really just a bonus. One other thing that I see is another opportunity to make a lot more money that direct response does, and brands, direct-to-consumer brands, really struggle to do, and that's how to make more money on your email list. And what we see a lot is promoting other people's products. Okay. Now, I know for a direct-to-consumer brand, you might hear me say that and go, why would I built a brand? Why would I invite other brands in? That's crazy. That's crazy. My response to you is, does Nike sell everything? Can I get Nike branded lotion? Probably. Damn, that's not a good one. They probably do have lotion. But they don't sell everything, right? I can't get a Nike branded car. Right. I can't get Nike branded green powder, right? Or green juice. They might actually have that, but I'm not aware of it. But maybe they can't, right? And that's still a massive brand. Nike might have almost everything, but they don't have everything. So what if instead of Nike just being like, we will only sell Nike products, they said, we are never going to sell this. There's no reason we'd ever sell this consumer good. But these people do, and we know our buyers want it. So I say that because even if there's opportunities in the biggest brands, there's definitely opportunities in small brands. And a big part of building trust, and I even think building brand loyalty, are the brands that know who they are and know how to be a part of the next purchase. Because I'm oftentimes looking for something, right? And every brand is not going to fit that. But if I trust that brand and like them and they guide me to the next stop, I'm very likely to say yes to that. Okay. Which means that trust that you built, that brand that you built, is very valuable. So valuable that if you recommend other purchases that you will never have to make, you can make a lot more money and make your consumers a lot happier. Yeah. The goal is just accepting that and finding the brands that mission align with you to start working on an affiliate basis to your email list. Yeah. So if you're a skincare brand, you do a lot of great stuff with skin, but you might not do anything with apparel.
Or hair.
Or hair. Yeah, you might do nothing with hair. And obviously, my skin looks great, but if my hair looks ratty and gross, that's a problem. Like, I don't need frail, breaking off split ends and look like...
It's like a collab. It's like a fun collab.
It is. Imagine if it was a collab that was incentivized and not permanent, but you could do it for as long as you need to, right? And so that's where I just say bringing in more of the affiliate commission or collaborations. And I think switching the mindset of not being the only purchase, but be a part of the next purchase could really make these brands a lot more money.
Super smart.
So, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. Just really identify, here's the things we're never going to do. And let me say, even if you would like to do them, if you tested what your current buyers thought of it with another product, now you avoid product launches that just fail. Test it out as an affiliate first. And like, I'm sure, I don't know if I've been a part of making a product where like, it's going to work. They want it, and just no one wanted it. You spend months and months and time and energy, probably $50,000 to $100,000 developing it. And now no one wants it.
Yep.
Use an affiliate deal. If it sells, people want it. Now you could go and create your own version. So even at that level, it's powerful.
Yeah.
So,
that's very insightful.
yeah, that's the last thing I'd say. Just
Thank
go
you.
and sell other people's products. So with that, as a recap, Lauren, we
Wow.
talked about going from D2C product page to creating a funnel and being the spear of acquisition to really supercharge your acquisition, as well as maybe even using affiliate deals to monetize them back end. So hopefully making a lot more money for some of these brands. Is there anything else that we need to address or say to the brands at this point that you think would be valuable as the voice of the brands? You're like the Lorax for ecom.
No, I think we've covered such great territory in terms of getting people used to the concept of using funnels and leveraging this strategy, doing it in-house first. Then when you feel like confident and ready, you can extend it out to affiliates or partnerships, upsells, and all the accelerators. I think it's honestly really, really great information. So thank you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for being the voice of those brands, the Lorax to ecom. As we say, please rate, review, subscribe. Be sure to also send us stuff about some things you'd like to hear from us. So if you're an ecom brand out there and like, that was great, but my questions just grew throughout the rest of it, send the questions to us. We want to make sure we're addressing them for you. And who knows, we might even read or mention you on the podcast. We haven't yet, but why not? So the email is affiliate@clickbank.com. And Thomas isn't here, but I will do my best Thomas impression as we tell you happy scathing. And until next time, have a good one.